What if the thing that exhausts you the most is also the thing that makes you extraordinary? Most people think overthinking is a flaw, a weakness, something to fix. But psychology tells a completely different story. The people who think too much, who replay conversations, who can't turn their brain off at night, who analyze everything before they speak, these people aren't broken. They are built differently. And today, we are going to explore exactly what that means. Because if you've ever been told you think too much, this video is going to change how you see yourself forever. Here is what modern psychology actually says about people who overthink. Overthinking is not always a disorder. In many cases, it is a sign of a highly active, deeply intelligent mind that simply cannot accept shallow answers. Researchers at the University of Toronto found that people who score high on what's called creative rumination, meaning they repeatedly think through problems, scenarios, and emotions, often demonstrate superior problem solving, deeper empathy, and stronger self-awareness than average. Your brain doesn't overthink because something is wrong with it. Your brain overthinks because it refuses to stop at the surface. It wants the full picture every time. And that, psychologically speaking, is not a weakness. That is a gift with a cost. Let's talk about the signs. The first sign you think too much. You replay conversations, sometimes for days. Someone said something to you 3 days ago, and your brain is still processing it, still finding new meanings, still wondering if you responded the right way, still thinking about what you should have said instead. Other people have already forgotten the conversation. You are still living inside it. This happens because your brain is doing something called post-event processing, a term used in cognitive psychology to describe the mind's tendency to review social interactions in detail after they occur. For most people, this happens briefly. For overthinkers, it runs deep and long. And here is the truth about this processing. That processing, it makes you incredibly socially intelligent over time. You learn from every interaction in a way that most people simply never do. You understand people better. You understand yourself better. The cost is that your mind rarely gets to rest. Second sign, your brain automatically runs worst-case scenarios. Before a meeting, before a trip, before a difficult conversation, your mind has already played out 17 different versions of how things could go wrong. You've prepared for problems that haven't happened. You've thought through exits that nobody else has considered. Psychologists call this anticipatory thinking, and while it can feel like anxiety, it is actually a highly sophisticated cognitive function. Your brain is doing threat assessment constantly, automatically. The same thinking that feels like worry in daily life becomes invaluable preparation in high-stakes situations. Overthinkers rarely get blindsided. They have already thought about what happens next. The challenge is learning to use this ability strategically instead of letting it run on loop at 2 a.m. when nothing actually needs solving.
Third sign. Small decisions feel surprisingly heavy. What to order at a restaurant, which route to take, what to reply to a simple message. People who don't overthink find these things effortless. You find them exhausting because your brain doesn't treat any decision as truly small. It automatically weighs options, considers outcomes, imagines how each choice might ripple forward. This is called decision fatigue amplification, and it comes directly from a brain that is wired to think in depth about everything. The irony is that overthinkers are often the most careful, most considerate decision-makers in their circles when it comes to things that actually matter, because the same process that makes small decisions hard makes big decisions remarkably thorough. Fourth sign. You are more self-aware than almost anyone around you. You notice your own patterns. You catch yourself in moods before others see them. You know exactly what triggers you, what drains you, what makes you feel like yourself, and what doesn't. This level of self-awareness is rare, and it comes directly from a mind that is constantly reflecting on your own behavior, your own motivations, your own contradictions. Psychologists who study metacognition, which is the ability to think about your own thinking, consistently find that people with highly active inner lives develop a deeper understanding of themselves than people who don't reflect much. You know yourself in a way that takes most people decades to develop, if they ever get there at all. Fifth sign: your brain refuses to shut down at night. You lie down, the room is quiet, your body is tired, and then your mind decides now is the perfect time to think about everything. The conversation from yesterday, the decision coming next week, the thing someone did 3 years ago that you still haven't fully made sense of, the meaning of something, the fear of something else. Sleep researchers describe this as hyperarousal, a state where the brain's activity level remains too high to allow the transition into sleep, and it is extremely common in people with highly active, analytical minds. Your brain doesn't know it's supposed to stop. It was built to keep going. Learning to sleep well as an overthinker is not about thinking less. It's about teaching your nervous system that the night shift is over, that the thinking can wait until morning. And that is a skill, not a personality flaw. Pause here for a moment. Every sign we've talked about so far, the replaying, the anticipating, the self-awareness, the sleeplessness, these are not flaws with a psychological label attached to make them sound better. These are genuine features of a mind that operates at a deeper level than average. The same brain that keeps you up at night is the brain that catches things others miss, that prepares for what others ignore, that understands people at a level most never reach. The remaining signs go even deeper into how overthinking shapes your relationships, your creativity, and ultimately your identity.
Sixth sign: your emotions hit differently. When something good happens, you don't just feel happy, you feel it fully, completely, in a way that stays with you. When something hurts, it doesn't just pass, it settles. It asks to be understood before it lets go. This emotional depth is directly connected to overthinking. A mind that processes everything at length also processes feelings at length. Nothing is surface level. Everything has weight. Psychologists call this emotional elaboration, and while it can make painful experiences harder to move through, it also means your joy is richer, your connections are deeper, and your capacity for empathy is extraordinary. You don't just know that someone is hurting, you feel it with them, completely. Seventh sign: you have a rich, vivid inner world. Ideas come to you constantly. You make connections between things that other people don't even notice are related. You find yourself lost in thought, constructing stories, scenarios, solutions, possibilities, without even trying. This is not distraction. This is the natural output of a brain that never stops generating. Research in creativity consistently links what psychologists call default mode network activity, the brain's background processing system, to creative insight and imagination. Overthinkers, whose default mode networks are essentially always running, tend to be highly creative thinkers even when they don't consciously identify as creative. Your mind is always building something, even when it looks like you're doing nothing. Eighth sign: you understand people in a way that surprises them. You pick up on what people don't say. You notice the hesitation before someone answers, the small change in tone, the way someone's energy shifts when a certain topic comes up.
And because you have spent so much time analyzing human behavior, your own and others, you often understand people's motivations more clearly than they understand themselves. This is one of the most powerful and underappreciated gifts of overthinking. A mind that is always analyzing is always learning about people, always building a more sophisticated model of how humans work, what they need, and what they are really saying beneath their words. People feel deeply understood by you, even if they can't explain why.
Ninth sign. You are your own harshest critic. When you make a mistake, you don't just acknowledge it and move on. You examine it. You understand exactly how it happened. You think about how you could have done it differently, and then you think about it again. This internal standard, this refusal to let yourself off the hook easily, is exhausting. But it is also the engine behind some of the most meaningful growth a person can experience. Psychologists who study self-regulation find that people with high internal standards and strong reflective capacity tend to develop faster, learn more from failure, and reach higher levels of skill and character over time. The voice that never lets you fully rest, it's also the voice that keeps pushing you forward. The work is learning to be rigorous with yourself without being cruel to yourself, to hold the standard without losing compassion for the human being who is still learning. The 10th sign, and perhaps the most defining one, you cannot accept that things just happen without meaning. When something goes wrong, you need to understand why. When something ends, you need to make sense of it. When life takes a turn you didn't expect, your mind immediately goes to work, searching for the pattern, the lesson, the purpose. This is not obsession. This is a philosophical mind doing what it was built to do. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote that the human being's deepest drive is not pleasure or power. It is the search for meaning. And overthinkers live this truth completely. You are driven at your core by the need to understand, not just events, but the deeper architecture of life itself. That search is not a symptom. That search is your greatest strength. Here is what is worth sitting with before you move on. Overthinking, real, deep, exhausting overthinking, is not simply a bad habit you need to break. It is the surface expression of a mind that is engaged with life at a level most people never reach. Yes, it costs you sleep sometimes. Yes, it makes simple decisions complicated. Yes, it means you carry more than others seem to carry. But it also means you see more, feel more, understand more, create more, and care more about the people in your life, about the quality of your choices, and about the meaning of your time here. The goal was never to think less. The goal is to learn to carry this mind with more grace, to rest when rest is needed, to trust yourself when trust is earned, and to recognize, finally, completely, that the very thing that exhausts you is also the thing that makes you irreplaceable. You don't think too much. You think deeply, and the world needs people who do.